Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this webinar. My name is Billy Kolb with ICAP. Just going to give you a few quick pieces of information before we get going. Currently, all participants on this webinar are in listen-only mode, so you are muted. We will have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation, so if you stick around for that, you can ask questions either out loud, and you can raise your hand through GoToWebinar for that, and we will call on you and unmute you. If you choose to do that, I strongly encourage you to participate through the telephone rather than your computer speakers, just in case your computer doesn't have a microphone. And you can do that by calling in through the number on the audio part of your GoToWebinar control panel. It is also possible to ask questions via text chat, so that is an option as well. Also want to mention that after the presentation, you'll be receiving an eval by email for you to complete. Without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Mary Elsner.
Hi, my name is Mary Elsner. I'm the Director of Obesity Prevention Initiatives at the Illinois Chapter American Academy of Pediatrics. We are a statewide public health organization of pediatricians throughout the state of Illinois, and we are particularly pleased with our We Choose Health project and that so many of you are participating. We did have a former project in Chicago and Cook County, and we're really excited about our current project, which is part of the Illinois Department of Public Health grant made possible by funding from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This baby-friendly project falls under Obesity Prevention Initiatives at ICAP, and we are very pleased to have Beth Seidel as one of our consultant managers for the project. So I'm going to be turning it over to her right now to introduce our speaker. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you, Mary. As Mary said, this is Beth Seidel. I am the project manager as a consultant with ICAP on our Baby-Friendly Expansion Grant project, and I'm very excited that we have Janet Tolley from St. John's Hospital in Springfield presenting this webinar for us today. Janet is definitely our most veteran baby-friendly lactation consultant in Illinois, many years of experience with baby-friendly. She's worked in the maternity field for 32 years. She led the effort of St. John's to become the first baby-friendly certified hospital in Illinois, and they received their designation in 1988. They were the 12th designated hospital in the United States. Since that time, Janet has helped 5 other hospitals gain baby-friendly certification and has spoken at many conferences on topics including baby-friendly low milk supply, breastfeeding in the NICU, tongue tie, improving exclusive breastfeeding rates in the hospital, just to name a few. Janet is a member of the Illinois State Breastfeeding Task Force, the West Central Illinois Breastfeeding Task Force, and ICAP's Committee on Breastfeeding. So thank you very much, Janet, for speaking with us today, and I'm going to throw it over to you.
Okay, Beth, thanks. We're going to talk about beginning the baby-friendly journey, and many of you are in that process as we speak. I wanted to say I have no conflict of interest, nothing to disclose. And today, just as a beginning, what are we hoping to achieve is we are wanting to help you organize a multidisciplinary team to discuss how to make some process changes within your environment, also to identify resources to gain evidence-based information to assist you in writing policies and looking at your practices, and then list methods to identify obstacles that you'll find in your nursing care of the breastfeeding family. And then along the way, we'll talk about some educational needs of the nursing staff that care for the women and children within their practice. So where do you start? Well, you always start at the beginning, and of course the beginning is taking care of mothers and babies. And that process is ever changing. We find that people that used to come to classes, usually the mothers who would call us and say, you know, we're going to have a baby, we want to sign up for your classes, are no longer doing that. And so we have to go about teaching the new millennium children how or the women who were children when I was growing up. They're all older than me. They're younger than me now. We are starting our baby-friendly process by looking at our practices. And then we have to identify what is our goal. Our goal is to achieve baby-friendly status, but how do you achieve that goal? We now have 4 hospitals within the state of Illinois that are baby-friendly, and we have found that their processes are different lengths. We actually were certified not in 1988 but 98, and then shortly after there, Pekin Hospital, where Beth is from, was certified, and then just recently 2 hospitals, St. Mary's in Decatur, which is a sister hospital of St. John's, and then Little Company of Mary up in Chicago have also been certified. So it's a very exciting time for nurses and lactation consultants in the state of Illinois that so many hospitals have that interest. So the process to achieve this goal is to become a leader. And many people say, well, what do you mean become a leader? How do you become a leader? Well, you have to first evaluate what practices you are now doing in your area, whether you work at a hospital or a WIC office or a prenatal clinic. So you need to look at what current practices are in place. Then you have to look at what efforts you're going to need to make an organized process for that change. You just can't say, well, we need to change this and I want it done tomorrow. You have to educate the people that are involved so that you are well prepared, and then you have to reevaluate after the process changes in place. Was it successful? Was everyone involved, engaged? If not, then what do we do to change that? And in order to have this occur, you have to take the leadership role. And hopefully everybody that's on the line today are leaders. So when we talk about, I always like that song, Looking at the Man in the Mirror, that Michael Jackson sang. You know, you have to start the changes with yourself. And that's something that is very hard for people to do, is to look at what are your skills, what are your gifts, and what are your challenges. And not everyone is a crusader. Sometimes it's a very lonely position to have, is that you see something that's wrong, you want to change it, you're anxious to get it changed, but you have to kind of realize what are your skills in getting that change made. So what are your strengths? And there's a test that you can take online. It's the Myers-Briggs Personality Assessment. And when I first started management 32 years ago, that was one thing they had all the managers take. And it was very enlightening to tell you what kind of personality you have and really which personalities do you work best with. Also, are there any mentors around? Are there people that you really admire that you work with, people who have had the ability to make changes previously in your institution? Maybe talk to them, invite them for lunch, or go to Starbucks for a coffee and pick their brain. You know, what have you done in the past? How did you go about getting that changed? And then knowing who has the power. It's so important to know who has the ability to yes or no any project or process, because without that ability to know who is in the power, you may be wanting to make a change and only to have it blocked off, or someone to say, no, we can't do that. We don't have the money to do it, nor do we have the time to let people do this activity. So we have to be able to know who has the power. Another book, when I started management, was The 1 Minute Manager. This is a very old but classic management book. It's only like 50 pages, and I would encourage you all to check it out of the library, get it online, call Amazon and order one. It's priced $2. You don't have to pay too much for it. But it was the first time I really understood the meaning of praising good deeds. Instead of always trying to find fault or finding, you know, you're always doing that wrong, finding people who are doing the right thing and praise them, and not in private, but praise them in public. You know, gosh, I really enjoyed how you talked to that mother who was so afraid of losing her baby. That was so good that, you know, you spent time with her And, I saw your empathy, and it was amazing. And so, just trying to find people who are doing good things and praising them for it. It's a classic. 1 Minute Manager. The next thing I would advise you to that would help you understand the strengths that you have is books by Marcus Buckingham. I was introduced to him at a leadership workshop at our church, and he was one of the speakers. It was a big webinar. They had Colin Powell speak, and all these really strong people. They had several women who spoke about putting your strengths to work, and he had several books in this series, but this is even a video that he put on. And one of the things that he talked about that, again, touched a chord with me was when your child comes home from school, and most of us do have children, and they bring a report card and they have 3 A's, a B, and a D. Do you say, oh, gosh, you did so good. Look at that. You got 3 A's. No. What I would usually do is say, how did you get a D? What happened? What did you turn in? Instead of focusing on what your child did right, it's very easy to focus on the low score. And that's kind of how most managers do with their employees or people who are in the leadership role. Instead of saying, hey, you really did a great job today, that delivery went well, that mom got skin to skin right away, the baby was breastfeeding, I really admire how well you get those moms and babies together. We say, why was that baby taken over to the crib? Now we're supposed to be doing skin to skin, and, just not focusing on the 9 out of 10 babies they did get skin to skin. So if you have a chance to look at anything by Marcus Buckingham, he really has a unique way of looking at bringing your strengths to the table. Okay, we're talking a lot about becoming a leader, but process needs a leader. And unless you can have someone who takes that leadership role, you're going to find that nothing gets done. When I started the Baby Friendly process in 1992, it was, breastfeeding was kind of the fun thing to do. It was nice, oh, that's so nice that mom wants to breastfeed. But we only had 42% of our moms choosing to breastfeed. The rest were all formula feeding. So that was a process we needed changed. Why were these moms not choosing breastfeeding? So we looked at what kind of approach we could make to that change. And as a leader, I was in a management position. I was the supervisor of labor and delivery. And I started talking more and more with our lactation staff. We had 1.5 people who worked part-time doing lactation along with nursery work. And we were able to form a committee. There were some things I was able to do by myself as a manager, but most of the work was done in a committee arena, and I'll talk more about that later. But the one thing that they always suggest in any management or leadership change process is that you have to care more than anyone else. Can you do that? And how long can you sustain that care? I had young children at the time. I have twin boys, and they were 11 when I got involved in breastfeeding. And there were times when I got home late from work that I was a little disgruntled about, is that, there are times when you have to have your family take precedent over your work. But I was able to continue with the leadership in lactation, and I actually left management to be the first facilitator of our lactation program. So just kind of think, how much ability and time do you have to work on this project, because it does take time and effort. This is a really good quote that I liked, that I saw when I was preparing for the talk, is that strength of purpose achieves the impossible. And how many times throughout the day do you think, oh my gosh, this is just never ending? If I have to say this one more time or try to correct this one more time, and when will we ever be able to get our certification? I want you to know it is possible. In Beth's case, I know that the nurse manager of her hospital said that she was going to retire in 2 years, and she got Baby Friendly through the door and certified within that time before she retired. And she did a magnificent job. And even though it's a smaller community hospital, they really do give excellent care. And it shows day after day with their Press Ganey and the satisfaction score. So you can achieve it. So fate or fortune, how many people have come into your life that have changed your life immensely? I, as I said, was the manager of labor and delivery, and I always give the story of Dr. Mary Dobbins, who's a local pediatrician, who was just a dynamic speaker. She was a role changer. She ended up going into psychiatry, but for years she was the Joan of the Arc in breastfeeding in our community. And then also Dr. Victoria Nichols Johnson, who was head of our Lactation Coalition. Dr. Nichols Johnson and Dr. Dobbins were some of the founding members of the Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine. So these are two very knowledgeable women. They approached me and asked me if I would be interested in going with them to California to the WellStart program to come back as one of 8 hospitals in the United States to incorporate lactation education into the medical school role. And since 1993, we have educated every medical student who has gone through SIU School of Medicine. So that's 20 years of progress in our community. And many of these physicians stayed in our community and have gone on to become breastfeeding advocates. And there's Mary and Dr. Nichols, and I'm in the middle. And this was a local legislator, Raymond Poe, and we did some work with them in getting laws passed in Illinois to support the breastfeeding mothers. So we talked about being a leader, and now we need to know how do we make change. Well, who do we need to know to make these changes? We talked about finding out who has the yes and no power. So we need to get them, of course, involved. We also need to look for the supporters, look for physician supporters, people who will be your backbone when it comes to talk to management or higher up in the hospital organization, that these are practices that need to be changed. And then before you have your change meetings, always have pre-meetings with key people that you can set up an agenda, write a statement of purpose so that you know what you're going to try to achieve and what change you need to be made, that needs to be made. So when we were looking at yes and no person, it was our director of the birth center. She was able to give me the go-ahead and say, this is how much money I have budgeted for this process. I will give you so many days per week, 3 days per week to work on Baby Friendly. We're going to hire another lactation consultant who is also an IBCLC and have her working in conjoining the practice of our personal birth consultants and our lactation educator. Our supervisor is also a certified lactation educator. She trained through the UCLA program, and she was also a Lamaze instructor before she became the supervisor. So she has a lot of vested interest in improving birth and also encouraging lactation. And then the educator of our unit was also an IBCLC, and she helped. She was excellent. She is such a great writer. My deficit is I can't spell. And so she was really good at helping me write policies, and she would re-look at everything I wrote and make corrections for me. So I always appreciated Susan O'Connor. She's still working at it after 20 years. So I was very fortunate to have her to help me. So our committee, we involved all the parties. That would include the physicians, the director, supervisory staff, and we didn't just concentrate on labor and delivery, but we also included our mother-baby staff, our NICU staff, and our pediatric staff. It was very important that all these people were involved in the care of mothers and babies. People say, well, what about pediatrics? Well, a lot of our babies that are readmitted for hypobilirubinemia go to pediatrics, so we had to get some lactation support in that arena. Also in NICU, there was only one lactation consultant at that time. She had gone through the UCLA program and was their educator, but now they have over 20 members of their staff that are now trained. And then the educators, because they will be writing the policies for their units. Usually it's the educators in our area rather than the managers that write policies. And then the lactation consultants. We have 40 in our whole building, and we have about 25 in labor and delivery now, or in the birth center. That's labor, postpartum, and our mother-baby unit. Okay, so how to get started on a meeting. You have to have an agenda. You have to have some idea of how the meeting is going to go. Pass out the agenda, make sure everyone has it in front of them. We set some ground rules because we have a tendency to have certain people on our committee who were over speakers. Someone would be talking and then they would interrupt and start talking. We wanted everyone to know that you have a voice on this committee, that your thoughts and your comments are valued, and we value you for coming. We wanted to make sure that all members excuse me, listen to each person, that discussion were not monopolized by just one person. Thank you. We wanted to make sure that everyone had a task, because without a task they're not engaged. And then we also set up an agenda for the next meeting, made sure that everyone had a task, there was a due date for that task to be completed, and then when we came back to the next meeting, everyone would have an opportunity to report off on their task or to discuss what was the problem with the assignment that they had. We were able to get a lot more done for any of our changes that way. So where's the best start? The best start's at the beginning. And at our beginning is when our mothers come to our hospital. We do not have a prenatal clinic associated with our facility, but we do see moms prenatally if they are in the hospital for any kind of complications on our antenatal unit, or in our triage when they come in and they think they're in labor, or if they come in at any time for any of our prenatal classes, our hospital tour, or our doula meeting. So we do meet with patients sometimes before they come to the hospital. In this picture, you'll see that we have a mother in the bed with a resident attending, a resident physician, speaking to her about her plans for her birth. And at the side is the nurse, and we have computers in all the rooms. And inside the room, I'm going to talk later about the doors here. I have information inside these doors for the nurses to look at while they're asking patients questions for our computerized charting. We do OB/TV here at St. John's. So policies. That's the start of your practice, is that you have policies in place that support your breastfeeding processes and other mother-baby care that will encourage breastfeeding. Review the information. Are they current? Have you looked at information in the last 2 years? Usually most hospitals have a policy committee that looks at their policies every couple of years in line with Joint Commission, so that when they come, their policies are current. I just redid our hospital. It used to be called our breastfeeding policy. It's now called the infant feeding policy. Every hospital in the state of Illinois had to have it in place since January 1st of 2013. We redid our policy as part of our baby-friendly recertification and turned that in January, and really back and had to review it and make some changes. So it was interesting that the first one we had was fairly basic, and this one, I believe it's like 14 pages long, because it includes every step of the 10 steps. This is a very wordy slide, but I just wanted to show you what we did for our infant breastfeeding standard protocol. For our policy, we just, made it very specific to provide support to each breastfeeding family and support the baby-friendly hospital initiative at our hospital. And we also had to put in there that we would not promote the use of artificial baby milk and will decline to accept or distribute free or subsidized supplies. And that was to talk about how our hospital pays for all of our supplies, our formula, anything that we use that would substitute from the breast. And then we talk about how we're going to educate our patients, we're going to educate the community, which we do because we send information to every physician's office. We offer online classes. We offer classes at the facility. And then we talk about how we're going to educate them prenatally when they're here at the hospital and postpartumly. And we try to make choices that will best care for them and not interfere with their breastfeeding success. And so that's what our policy was changed to say. And then the purpose, we had to write a purpose. Our hospital has a standard outline that you follow when you're doing your policies. And we had to have this in here that all of our practices and our care will be the same as what the 10 steps is asking us to do. And then in recognition that it's healthy, it's the best thing for your babies, for the emotional advantages, the staff of the birth center will actively support women who choose to breastfeed, that these are only the only people that we will choose to hire and to maintain employment here are the ones that are going to follow policies and procedures. And then we wanted to standardize the information regarding the care so that our staff are routinely giving the right information at the right time in a very concurrent manner so that one nurse is not saying one thing and then the night nurse comes on and says another thing. Maybe something said in labor and delivery, but it's not being repeated in mother-baby. So we had some work to do, but that's the purpose. And they'll give you these slides at the end so that you don't write it all down. We are so supported in the state of Illinois with our Illinois Physician Statement. It's online. All 3 major physician organizations have come out with a very strong statement that their physicians should support breastfeeding. They've even gone on to send out bulletins. Please don't give out formula gift bags to all your mothers. That was something that had occurred at our facility, is that I kept seeing these little bags come in with certain people after they've gone home and they come to our mom-baby group. We have one every Wednesday. And I said, well, that's interesting. Where did you get that? They had delivered at the hospital 2 blocks down, and they were getting these gift bags at the other hospital. Well, when people who delivered from our hospital came with the bag, I asked, well, where did you get that? Because they're not getting it at the other hospital because they delivered here. And I found out that at their 20-week exam in the doctor's office that they got a gift bag along with, they filled out a coupon, and the formula companies would send them formula in case they needed it. So I had to talk to the physicians and ask them, is there any way that you have read the statement from your organization and actually printed some up and took them to their departmental meetings and asked for their assistance in supporting moms in choosing the best thing for their health. And many of the physicians, well, Janet, I'm not a boob doctor. I'm not somebody who has to force all my patients to breastfeed. Of course, that's not what I was saying, but that was what several people took away. And I said, no, what I'm saying is that just like when you talk to your mothers when they come in and maybe they have gestational diabetes, do you give them a carton of candy? Do you give them anything, here you should follow this diabetic diet, but here's some candy for you? You're just given mixed messages. And of course you wouldn't do that and you're telling them that they should breastfeed because breastfeeding is important. No, apparently they're not doing that. They're just making sure that they get their formula. So it is a never-ending battle sometimes, but choose your battles. And so what I've done is mainly work more with the residents, and I have several physician champions who are going to be taking it to the next OB meeting to try and help the physicians make better choices. So where do you go when you're starting to write your policies? Well, we talked about the physician statements. I would have all three of those printed and have those as resources. Also, the Journal of Human Lactation, which is part of the Internationally Board Lactation Consultants. They have this journal, and the whole journal for August of 2012 was baby-friendly, how to write a baby-friendly policy, how to go about getting some baby-friendly practices within your community and your hospitals. Also, you can call baby-friendly hospitals. There's 161 of us now throughout the United States. I think California has the most right now. I think they have like 20. And the more that you become involved in baby-friendly process, you will be online. LACNet, which is a lactation online, has lots of things in the archives on how to become more baby-friendly, how to get over obstacles that you find with either staff or physicians. And then, of course, Baby-Friendly USA, once you get into the discovery phase, they have a web line, like a web service where you can get online and ask any questions. You get digests every day, or you can just get them when you want. You can go through the archives and get that information. Also, the Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine that I was talking about, that Dr. Nichols Johnson and Dr. Mary Dobbins helped with the initiation of this organization. It's really a great organization. I'm going to see if this will go and show you the site. It's www.bfmed.org, and they have a position statement on breastfeeding. It talks about how it's important that physicians get education, and they also talked about mothers in the workplace. But they have clinical protocols that will help you when you write some of your policies on your practices, and they check those every 5 years, and they redo them. And they have them in several languages, but they have it on hypoglycemia, supplementation, taking care of your patient in the hospital, co-sleeping. And then they also have this model hospital policy, which is an excellent way to get your sources started. So I just wanted to show you that. It's really a great site. Oh, let's see. Make sure I didn't lose anybody. Go back to my PowerPoint slide. Yay. I'm always thrilled when something works other than me. So the surgeon, you all have heard that already, that the surgeon had the call to action, and that was very important to the breastfeeding movement. And then the statements with power. CDC, the Joint Commission on Public Health, have all come out with strong position statements on breastfeeding, and they will also be great resources for you when you write your policy and change your practices. These are all websites that are very excellent in giving you correct, timely, evidence-based information. I go a lot to Massachusetts and Texas. Also, California has a very active lactation website. And many of these have toolkits like ours. If you've not gotten the ICAP toolkit, it was very good in helping you become baby-friendly and some practical solutions. So they'll give you these sites with the web pages. So hospital practices, things to know with your hospital practices. What type of services do you have? What are the number of deliveries? Do you have 2,000 or 200? What are the percentages of C-section deliveries in your facility? But kind of carve out the primary versus the repeat. I've noticed that some of our physicians are encouraging mothers from doing a repeat, or not repeat, but a primary, someone who had a primary C-section for perhaps a breech delivery or twins or a malposition, not encouraging them to try and do a vaginal delivery after C-section or a VBAC, and then encouraging them instead to just do a repeat C-section. And I'm seeing that as kind of a trend, and I'm watching it to see if it is something that is to be alarming or if it's just something that is a fluke that just came up. What are the percentages of your clients that are exclusively breastfeeding? With our OB-TV, we were able to have that included in our handouts for our and our little gals, our medical support. She's able to put in the find out how many babies went home whose mothers had decided to breastfeed, were supplemented in the hospital, and then you're able to go back into those charts to see if it medically indicated. They have their hypoglycemia, the mother's an insulin-dependent diabetic, and was put on. The baby had low glucose at birth. So just kind of finding out why are they supplementing. I noticed that some moms whose babies are close to term that are going to unit, almost 100%, 36 weeks, or their mothers are exclusively part of them while they're here in the hospital. Just look at some of those trends. If there's anything that you can change in your practice in order to change a policy in order to help that change occur. Well, who gives care in your facilities? Do you have midwives? Are you affiliated with a medical school or nursing school? We have we have 5 now. 5 nursing schools that are affiliated with our hospital, and they all go on rotation through our facility, and so I'm sure that they understand our baby-friendly policy and practices. We do have residents and medical students, as I spoke to earlier. We used to have midwives, but now the midwives deliver exclusively to hospitals, Foxtown, at our other hospital in our community. It's a level 1, level 2, and they'll deliver there. And then, of course, we do have physicians here. So now what do? We know that we need to have leadership. We know that we need to look at our practices and policies. We know where to go for our information. We know how to start a committee instead of just doing everything by ourselves. So that's me looking very discouraged. You know, what are we going to do now? Well, to help you be happy, we look for our obstacles so that we know how to overcome those obstacles. We've identified what practices need to be changed. And some practices that we find out need to be changed are because of comments. Patients make rounds on all of our patients every day. We send in a yes or no question like, did you have a good experience here? Yes or no. We ask, we sit down and we say, the manager or myself, we sit down and we say, can you tell me a little bit about how your hospital stay has gone? And so by sitting down and showing that we're not in a hurry, it's amazing the information that they'll give you. After they talk a while, I'll say, well, could you tell me anything about any of the nurses that have helped you while you've been here? And it's wonderful to hear all the glowing reports, things that have happened that have been very instrumental in helping this mom have a wonderful experience in the hospital. And for the last 3 months, our press gainings have been the highest in our facility. We're getting 98, 99% satisfaction and feeling that people are listening to them. We do a lot with writing on the whiteboards in the rooms. We have in every room. The nurses now do bedside report. They include the patient, if they're awake, at the bedside report. They do it at 7 in the morning and 7 at night. And we also huddle with our staff. We go from unit and around the whole unit and talk to the nurses at 10 o'clock every morning. You know, what's going on now? Is there any concern? We announce like what things are happening in the hospital, but mainly just to hear from the staff, how are our patients doing? Are there any concerns, anything that we need to help our patients? And then listening to the women. There's a lot of surveys online. We have Facebook. We also our support groups. We talk to our moms, you know, and do a survey of them. And then after moms are gone, have left our facility and have been home for a while, we have one of our personal birth consultants call them and everything go well. If the mothers have shown that their Edinburgh score might have been a little high for depression, we again educate them that we do have a service providing at our hospital. We have a postpartum depression group that is run by one of our psychologists here in town, and she'll come in and talk to them. And she's excellent. Everybody just wants to be her friend because she's so lovely. And then we find out firsthand knowledge from, again, patients, family. We've had some nurses who work on our unit who have recently given babies and had some opinions on what could be changed. And then the lactation staff, of course, are very important in saying, you know, like things that are going well. I always try to ask what things are going well and then what things are of concern. And then do they have any ideas on things that we can change? You know, what do you think we could do to make this better or make this more of a hardwired practice so that everybody's involved in changing and doing that service? The NPINK score, which is the National Survey of Maternity Practices in Infant Nutrition and Care. I had to write that all out because I always forget what it stands for. And then what does your hospital survey show? They started in 2009. They come out every other year on the odd years, and so it should be coming out this year. And then looking for quick fixes compared to long-term goals. There are some things that you can change very quickly. And I always relate to the story of how we quickly changed getting some things in the mail from the formula companies, sending us gift bags, and how we just decided not to carry those anymore. And that was a quick fix. And then long-term goals, making sure that all the staff are educated, that they've gone through, it's now 20 hours of education, and then maybe getting the physicians on board. That was a long-term goal because it's hard to convince them that they needed to take that 3-hour course. So what did the NPINK score just show? Throughout the trends in the United States, the needs for improvement were shown to be, number one, decrease inappropriate usage of supplementation of formula water or glucose water. We stopped using any kind of glucose water about 25 years ago, or water, and we only supplement with formula. We don't even carry water on our unit. The inclusion of every hospital needed to have a model breastfeeding policy. And since it was law as of January 1st, check out your policy. See what it says. Does it need to be tweaked? Are there any parts missing? And then initiation of mother and infant skin-to-skin care. There are so many articles and research that shows that when they initiate mother and infant skin-to-skin care, breastfeeding continuation rates and exclusivity rates go sky high. So that is one of the #1 practices that your hospital could do that would make a definite impact on your breastfeeding rate. And then protection of patients from formula marketing, which is one of the processes I'm trying to change now, is to try and get physicians to stop giving out formula gift bags. But it's very hard to get rid of something that they feel patients deserve, that moms need these wonderful gift bags. And I just have to continue to work on educating them on other ways that they can work with the patients. Okay, so quick, we have a policy. Educating healthcare staff on the policy. We are able to mandate what our staff education is. We have, it's called HealthStreams, and it's a computer-based program where we will have our staff take educational opportunities, and then they have a pre and post test. So it shows that they've taken that opportunity to learn. It was also mandated to all of the staff throughout the whole stack. We have pediatrics on level 5, NICU is on level 4, and we're on level 3 of this new hospital. And everyone who worked there had to take this the West Virginia. The University of Virginia had free education, and so before December, the end of December, all of our staff, it was mandated that they take it. And I was so proud of the neonatal intensive care physicians because they had a race to see if they could all get it done, and they did, and I was very proud of all 8 of them for doing that. It showed that they really felt that breastfeeding was important. Also, our perinatal physician who is in charge of our perinatal operative committee, he also completed it, and I've had several other physicians who, as part of the reward for taking this, they had to turn in their certificates to me, and then once they turned in their certificates, their name went into a drawing to win the 2012 Hale book on medications and mother's milk, and they were very excited when they won, and that kind of encouraged the other physicians. I tried to present it at their department meeting, and then other physicians went on and took it. About 30% of our physician staff took the opportunity to educate themselves, and then the rest I've had to do their department meetings and give an hour here and an hour there so that they can get their 3 hours. This is also an education opportunity at WellStart. That was the organization I trained under, and they have self-study modules, and they're free to educate all members of the healthcare team, and the guidelines for your education is on the topics to be covered. That is all under the Baby Friendly USA website. They show what are the topics that need to be covered. Now, I heard that you are going to have a train the trainer opportunity, and Linda Smith is going to teach it. And she's a really engaging speaker, and she'll be able to help train the person that's going to come back and train your staff. Maybe even if you had a HealthStreams or some kind of computer-based learning, then the nurses could do it at any downtime. Because we all know that OB is feast or famine. You're either very, very busy or it's slow. And so that would give them an opportunity to get some education and not have to use so much overtime. This is one of our partners in NICU, Dr. Laura Vargas, and she was so interested in lactation. She had just recently had a child, and she went to the CLC class that I just gave, and she went through that class and became a certified lactation counselor. So she's very excited, and she's encouraged one of the other physicians to also go to the class. They're very instrumental. They see every mother whose baby is in NICU, and they tell them that their baby needs that milk. And some moms say, well, I'm not going to breastfeed. I don't want to, do any of that breastfeeding. But they are able to give them enough information and encouragement that those mothers will at least pump their milk so that their babies have the very best start and helps prevent necrotizing enterocolitis. This is Dr. Nichols. She recently went to the breastfeeding collaborative in North Carolina with me to come back and try to help daycares be more supportive of breastfeeding. And we're going to give some information to the Illinois Breastfeeding Task Force in July. But she's very instrumental in any breastfeeding changes in the state. She's very good. Education, look for the opportunity to have conversations with your staff. How's it going, Mary? You know, I heard that you had some problems with this mom and helping her breastfeed. Is there anything I can come in and show you? And then I go in with the staff. Or if the staff call me and they go, Janet, you know, I have this mom who just delivered and I'm having a lot of trouble helping her with breastfeeding positioning. Could you come and help me? And I always get them, you know, if they're back out at the desk, I'm going in now. Why don't you come with me? Because I don't work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I work Monday through Friday for 8 hours each day, or 12 it seems like many days. But anyway, I just want to make sure that they have an opportunity to see me in action so that they will feel more competent. Because nothing's worse than you not feeling competent at what you're doing. You're more apt not to do it because you don't want to be seen as someone who doesn't know what they're doing. So I always praise them in front of the patient. Oh, you've got Mary. She is just the best nurse. Didn't you have a great delivery? Well, let me help you. Let me show you what we can do, and we'll make you a little more comfortable. And, oh, look, see how well that baby latches on with enough pillows. Just putting a couple pillows under them and making them nipple level. And then, you know, instead of telling the nurse, you know, this is what you're going to do, I'm talking to the patient, but hopefully she sees that this is the way that you go about helping her. You know, you can't always nurse laying in a, you know, a position that's not conducive for your breast and your baby. So we look for that. We also look for strengths of the members. There are some high performers in every organization. There's medium performers, and then there's very low performers. What I do is I look for the high to help me, the medium to praise to get them into the high category. The low performers, they usually have an action plan to help them see what their needs are, and then usually I will try to have a one-on-one instruction course with them, you know, just kind of take them aside and see what is their problem. Why can't they not get that baby skin to skin? Why do they always worry that they might have another delivery, so they have to get the baby over to the warmer and do their eyes and thighs, as Beth says, you know. And I always explain to them, you can do that all on the breast. You don't have to take them over away from the mom. You can give them a shot while they're nursing. You know, in fact, that works as an opportunity for the baby not to have so much pain when they're sucking. And, you know, letting them know that these things can change. And hopefully they come along and become medium or high performers. So change is good. Look to all levels of members for their thoughts and opinions on where you can improve. What types of things will motivate your staff? How can you go about talking to them that they don't feel like you're talking down to them? Including them in conversations and opportunities to learn. With our conversations, we have to act on their input. We have to let them know that we value them as staff, that their opinion is important. And then they become more engaged. Oh, Janet, did you know that this and this happened and I did this? Oh, that's really good. I'm so glad that you helped that mom. You know, I like that you identified that. Thank you so much. And, you know, I always look for ways to praise them in front of others. If there's a problem, I don't criticize them in front of others. I will take them aside and say, you know, I'm concerned that this occurred. Can you explain to me why? And giving them an opportunity instead of just jumping on them and say, you know, you always do this and I'm tired of it. You know, excuse me, giving them an opportunity to explain what occurred, because sometimes there are extenuating circumstances. Stop free gifts. So what you can do is walk around your department, get a little card, and look and see what things are being given out. Are there ink pens? You know, what we did is we bought a box of ink pens. We took them around with us, and we gave everyone an ink pen and took away any kind of pen that had some kind of pharmaceutical company on it. I noticed when I went to a workshop recently, people from the other facility down the street, they had name badge pulls that had formula companies on them. We replaced all ours many years ago with our own hospital logo, but recently some of our nurses are making these cute little name badge holders with just the pop tops off the vials. And they're really cute. They make them into like little flowers. And so we have, we allowed our nurses to be creative and let them wear those. Let them eat cake attitude. Now you might think, well, what does that mean? Well, instead of having a cake party for somebody who's leaving or for a baby, let's have a cake party and celebrate any adventures that we've had that actually caused a change, and it was positive, and it's working, and seems like it's hardwired. People are doing it over and over again, and celebrate with them and tell them, you know, this is really good that you did that. Whoops, here we go. Okay, we looked at our reading material. There was a magazine. Whoops, let me go back. Sorry. I get to go back twice. Okay, but this was a mother's magazine that was being handed out in the waiting room. On the 6th floor of our building are the physicians, and sometimes these magazines escape the 6th floor and come down to the 3rd floor. And so I had to go up and talk to them about having these in our facility, actually. These were like the first page that you open up. It was showing, you know, formula advertisement, and, you know, make your baby shower last all year long. And you could get all these free gifts all year long if you would just call this company and register. So people were encouraged to do things that really weren't encouraging to breastfeeding. So we did talk to them about that. And look at your reading material. Make sure that what you hand out is baby-friendly. I'm part of our doula program. We have doulas here at our hospital, and they work really well at mentoring birth, because we noticed that with all the epidurals, that many of our moms who were choosing to not have epidurals were having, their nurses were having more difficulty in, what exactly do I do? I'm so used to my patients getting epidurals. I go in and turn them, I chart them, I, you know, watch the monitor, and then we go and deliver. Whereas if a patient is not epiduralized, and how do you help them have a birth? So we talk to them about walking. We mentor our patients walking, encouraging the father to walk with them. A lot of times the doula will walk with them, and encouraging them to keep upright and active. We use the ball. We bought 8 of our big peanut balls. So this is one of our round balls, but we have plenty of equipment for our staff. If every patient on the labor unit decided that they would like to sit on a ball, they can all have one. In our hallways, we have these squat bars. Really, they're handrails, but I always call them squat bars. And the mothers, as they're walking, if they have a very large contraction and they feel more comfortable in a squat, this gives them some good support. And then, of course, Dad's right there behind her to assist her up and down. When moms deliver, our policy is that the baby, for every healthy full-term newborn baby, rather formula or breastfeeding, for those mothers to be informed that as the baby delivers, you know, being that they're all healthy and there's no problems, will go immediately to your chest. And the reason that we're wanting to do that is because as the baby is acclimated to the outside world, the baby is being colonized with mother's bacteria instead of the hospitals, and that's a very good thing. Plus, if the mother has chosen to breastfeed, her baby will have an opportunity to breastfeed much easier when they're close to the breast. So it's close to the mom's chest. This is what our staff felt, that babies need to be in the isolette or the warmer, and we told them that you don't have to wipe off all the vernix. You can just put the mom and baby together skin to skin. You can assess at the breast. And this little mom, she had her delivery, and she had sent me a picture of her being skin to skin. But as you notice, the baby did have a hat on. That's good. But the baby is also wrapped in a blanket, and that's not skin to skin. That is close to the skin, and the baby's face is definitely up against the breast, but it's not skin to skin, whereas this is skin to skin, a naked baby against a naked breast. And that's what we're talking about, is that in the process change that we made is that we want the babies right next to the mom. So when the mom is in labor, talk to her about what is she wearing. Is she wearing her bra? Does the bra fasten in the front? Do we need to take the bra off before they deliver so that the baby can be up against the breast and the mother will be able to be close to her baby that way? So does it make a difference? Many people say, well, Janet, did it make a difference? You know, did you get more patients? You know, did you get more revenue? Well, yes and no. We did get a lot more patients. Our patient status went, I think our numbers went up 30%, but at the same time that we became baby friendly, we moved into a brand new building, $32 million building. So of course, when you're the newest building in town, people come to see you. And all of our maternity rooms were private, so that did make a difference. Did our breastfeeding rates go up? We went from 42% in 1993. When we were certified, we were up to 68%, and last year we were about 78%. So our breastfeeding rates do go up as your breastfeeding support practices go up. What about the nature of change? Well, really don't expect it to happen overnight. And, you know, it's never going to go smoothly. There are some things that go smooth. But I just heard this quote the other day at a workshop, and one of the physicians said it. And he said, really, the only one that loves change is a wet baby. And that was so cute. I went online and found this cute baby's picture. But that is true. I actually like change, but that's probably why I've been in this business for as long as I have. I've been a nurse this year 40 years. But I love what I do, and I don't feel like I really have to work any of the days that I'm here. It's just, you know, something that I enjoy and have a passion for. But change will not happen overnight. It took us from 1993, when we heard about Baby Friendly, to 1998 to be certified. And every year it's something new and something different and a new challenge. So we continue to make change, and there's always something new that we have to overcome. So one of the things that we found from listening to the nurses, they always say, well, Janet, you know all this stuff. You can say it by heart, you know, whereas I don't feel as comfortable talking about it. So I made these posters, Skin to Skin Care, and I put them in every patient's room. And we put them inside those doors that I was showing you where our nurses chart. And then I also put the benefits, breastfeeding benefits for mother and baby. So a nurse will have this as talking points in every patient's room. And it really helps. They feel like, you know, eventually they are able to do it without, you know, looking at the reminders. But it does remind them to see it and to do it. Positive rewards. I also enjoy making jewelry. So one of the things that I did is try to find patients who talked about a nurse in a very positive manner, or someone who found a process that needed to be changed, or just try to catch them doing something well. And then I'd ask them, I'd put all their names in a bowl, and then once a month I'd have someone pick a name, and that I would go to that person and ask them, you know, what would you like? And this one little nurse, she wanted a name badge holder. So I beaded her a necklace to go around and hold her name badge. And this little gal was getting engaged, and she had a blue dress, so I made her blue jewelry. But I did that for 2 years. And again, you know, it's hardwiring positive behavior, finding them and giving them encouragement that they can do the right thing. Evaluation of change is so important. After you've made a process change, go back and look at it. Did it work? How did that process go? Could you replicate that with another change? Were all the members included? Was there anybody that we forgot to include in doing the change. I don't know how many changes have happened in your facility, but there was something recent that just brought that home. You know, someone changed an instrument or a thing that we used, and they forgot to ask the people who were involved, who use it every day, that they just decided to get rid of it. And so we had to go back to our products committee and say, you know, we use that over here in the birth center. They may not use it in the main house, but we need that here. So look at and evaluate what kind of changes you're making. Are you leaving anyone out? Is there a process that needs to be looked at differently? Measure your effectiveness. Did it take place? What adjustments need to be made? And are there any tasks assigned that didn't get completed? Did we get them all completed? If not, can we help that person by giving them a different task? Maybe that was not their strength. Maybe they could do better at a different task. So looking at that and holding people accountable, because when you're accountable for something, you're more apt to get it done. And then this is the reason that we do the things we do, is we have a wonderful mother and father, and this little mom, I saw her yesterday at support group, and her baby's 6 months, and she's still breastfeeding, and she's so proud of herself that she was able to accomplish that task. So why make changes? Why are we even talking about baby-friendly and trying to improve things around? And the reason it is number one is we want to improve patient satisfaction. We want every mother to have a very memorable birth. We want her to have a memorable postpartum period. And we want to make sure that she and her baby are enjoying the experience of being a family. We want to give evidence-based care. We want to make sure that the things that we're doing are not just because this is the way we've always done things. It is because this is what the evidence shows. It's a Joint Commission mandate. It's the Surgeon General's call to action. And every major health organization concurs that this causes better health outcomes, not only for mothers, but also for babies. And finally, it's because it's the right thing to do. It's the thing that we all need to do because it will improve the world. And this is success, a mother who is actually doing mother-baby skin-to-skin care to improve breastfeeding. So that's my talk, and I hope you guys are still on. And thank you for letting me do my first webinar. And I'll turn it over to whoever's taking charge.
Thank you so much, Janet. At this point, we'd like to take any questions. If anyone has questions, you can either type them in or you can raise your hand. While you're all maybe thinking of some questions, Janet, I do have one. Okay. One of the things that you talked about a couple times was increasing patient satisfaction scores. I know that one of the concerns that I hear from people as they're starting to make baby-friendly practice changes is that they are concerned that things like rooming in and not giving formula to a mother who's asking for it in the middle of the night is going to decrease their patient satisfaction scores. So can you speak to that at all as to what your experience has been?
Yes, that is something that the other hospital tried to champion. Instead of baby-friendly, they said, we are family-friendly. We will take your babies to the nursery. You'll get a good night's sleep. If your baby's hungry, we give them formula if they're hungry. So that was kind of the pervasive message that was going around. But it turned around on that practice. And what we found is that more of our mothers, in fact, like coming here because they always knew where their baby was. They always knew to look for baby feeding cues, whereas you don't see those cues when you're at when the baby's in the nursery. We would educate the moms that, you know, here at St. John's, we want to take the best care of you and your baby, and we're going to have one nurse who's going to know everything about you and everything about your baby. So if you have a question, we're not going to say, well, we'll have to go ask the baby nurse because we only take care of you, or vice versa. Well, you want some medicine, you'll have to ask your nurse because I just take care of the baby. So there was that definition line of I only do this and you'll have to ask the other person. And when we changed our practice and went from postpartum care and nursery care to mother-baby care, actually our patients were much more satisfied in the community, that they would come here and they knew exactly where their baby was. Now, you have to do a whole lot of education of your staff to teach them ways to teach mothers to be more comfortable taking care of their babies, especially after an exhausting labor and delivery, teaching, is there a family member that can be here and can rock the baby? We talk about the babies being more awake in the evenings and nights, that your baby might be sleeping now. It's, was awake at nurse, now it's sleeping, and your baby's going to be awake tonight. So we even gave them 2 hours in the afternoon. It's called nurture and nap time, that we encourage mothers and fathers to sleep. And we tell visitors not to come at that time. Take the phones off the hooks. Moms, you just rest because you're going to be up tonight with your baby. And then showing nurses how to help moms nurse their babies effectively in a bed, and then getting the baby back to the crib. But the mothers here, it's been 20 years that we've been doing this, and they are happier when they come here. And very few of our moms will ask that the babies be sent off to the nursery. If a mother is exhausted and does want her baby sent to the nursery, they will go ahead and take the baby out, but making sure that the baby is not staying out more than an hour. Does that answer it? Hello?
That does. Sorry, Janet, I couldn't get unmuted.
That's okay.
Yeah, well, first of all, does anybody else have any questions?
Yes, this is Billy. I have a question received by chat here. How much support did you get from marketing, and should they be a stakeholder from the beginning so the community knows what to expect from your hospital?
I would say that was one of the pieces that we were missing to begin with. I noticed that our sister hospital, St. Mary's in Decatur, Illinois, was very pro-marketing. They had their marketing people involved at the beginning. They had, when they became baby-friendly, they had booklets made, they had television ads, they had billboards. They were much more, hey, we did it type people than we did. But you have to remember, we were one of the first we were the 12th in the nation, and many of our local people really didn't know about Baby Friendly. And being the first to do it, the way that I advertised it is I wrote a letter to the editor that they published, so it was in our local newspaper on a Sunday, which is the most read newspaper. They interviewed me when we became Baby Friendly, and then we just started to talk more and more about it in our mothers groups, local Kiwanis Club. We talked to the Junior League women, but most of the advertising and things that were done were by me. And that's why I said, now I would definitely recommend making sure all interested parties are called to the table. And I did miss that on my slide, and I would definitely have marketing involved because they're going to help you. Any other?
Billy, do you have anything else?
I don't see any other questions at this time. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them.
Too, or they can email Beth if they have any.
Janet, I do have a question about the gift bags because you mentioned those a couple of times as well. If you can, I would imagine that maybe now you don't have the moms coming in still asking for them, or maybe you do, but when you were first having them come in and asking about them, how did you kind of explain to them that we don't give those anymore? And can you also explain why Baby Friendly does not want us giving out those free bags? Why do they interfere with breastfeeding?
Well, it's similar to everything that people hear, that if something sounds too good to be true, it may not be true. And in a lot of their advertisement and marketing to mothers, which is $4 billion business, I mean, they have this down pat, how to go in and educate women on how important it is that they supplement their babies and give them the gentle proteins. It's kind of comical how they have been able to integrate themselves into every person's life. But what we're doing is when a mom comes in and asks for a gift bag, it's very rare that they do, but occasionally somebody may have moved into our community and asked for a bag or have a coupon from a certain company that if you bring it to the hospital, you'll get a gift bag. What we talk to them about is that not only will we not give you a gift bag, but we will give you the best breastfeeding information and support, and actually a connection. Once you leave the hospital, we will be there for you. You can come in and you can see us every Wednesday at noon. It's free. We can help you with breastfeeding. We have a 24-hour call line that you can call. But we feel that breastfeeding is so important that we never want to discourage you or tell you that you are not going to make enough breast milk for your baby. So we don't have them asking so much for it. We try to give them a bag with our name and logo on it. When we first started, we quit giving out any kind of bags from any other company, or we didn't do any First Moments, we didn't do any magazines, but the information that we gave just had our hospital logo on it and our contact information. I think that they'll continue to work with doctors' offices trying to convince doctors that they're their friends, but our medical school has outlawed any bags, free lunches, going to dinners. They cannot accept any bribes, so to speak, from any pharmaceutical companies, regardless, not just formula, but also any kind of medication. It has to do with ethics. So we explain that to them.
I do have another question if there aren't any more.
I actually I've received a couple questions here. One is just about whether participants will be getting a copy of the PowerPoint and whether a recording of the presentation will be available. And I can answer that one actually. Yes, this webinar is being recorded and it will be posted to ICAP's website shortly, and we can send out an email after the fact letting you know when that's available. And yes, a download copy, probably as a PDF, of the slides in some form should be available. Here's another question.
Excuse me. Would you also put my email address in case they have any questions about the information that I shared?
Absolutely, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
So here's another question. What changes have you seen in your initiation rates year over year since becoming baby friendly?
Well, we have to keep our statistics each year for the Joint Commission Exclusive Breastfeeding Core Perinatal Core Measure. And last year it was 78%, but we have a high rate of, we're a level 3 hospital. We have a lot of our babies that are NICU babies because of the mother having complications. And we have almost 100% of our NICU babies' mothers pump for them. So far as our regular, moms who have babies that are 37 weeks or older, we have probably close to 80% of them pretty much breastfeed. In years past, like I said, when we started the process in 1993, we started our first statistics of breastfeeding initiation. It was 43%. And then in 1998, it went from 43% to 68%. And so it's gradually going up as more mothers are becoming computer savvy, and they're finding out the information online and different blogs. Occasionally you'll have something like the Time magazine where they have a toddler nursing, trying to throw the shock value into breastfeeding. You know, well, you shouldn't breastfeed because that's just odd. You know, it's just like everything else. It goes in cycles. But right now it's an upswing on breastfeeding due to the health issues and the obesity prevention money that has been put into educating mothers about the importance of breast milk for their children.
And here's a follow-up question of sorts. What is your current breastfeeding rate at discharge?
Our discharge rate is around the 78%. We do have moms who, on admission, say that they are going to breastfeed but never choose to breastfeed after the baby's born, which will bring your rate down some. It's like, you know, when the nurses educate them on admission, we talk to them about the benefits to them and their baby. Well, I might try it when I have the baby. I'll just see how it will go. Well, that mom is marked down as choosing to breastfeed, but in truth, she really didn't have interest in breastfeeding, but she thought she might try it, but then the mood passed and she didn't want to do it. We also have some who face some social challenges, and they also have some fall-off rate there. So I would say probably so far this year, I would say it's like up to about 5% who say that they're going to breastfeed that don't due to those issues.
Janet, can you speak a little bit as to how your nurses, when they are with a laboring mom, talk to her about her feeding choice? Do they just ask it as simply as, are you going to breast or bottle feed, or do they have a different kind of conversation?
What they do is, instead of saying that, because that's kind of a closed-ended question, we worked on some scripts, and they say, have you thought about how you're going to feed your baby? That's their general statement that they make. And then the mother will say, well, yes, I have, and I'm going to whatever. And if the mom says she's going to formula feed, then the nurse is to go on to say, well, has anyone ever talked to you about breastfeeding? And the mother will say yay or nay, and then the nurse will say, well, do you mind if I tell you a little bit about some of the benefits for you and your baby if you breastfeed? And most mothers during that time will say, no, go ahead and tell me. And then if they still decide not to breastfeed, we do not penalize them in any fashion. And, you know, there are some people who used to think that if you were baby-friendly, you would never give any of the formula moms formula. They'd have to bring it from home. And I said, oh, no. What baby-friendly is that we want to make sure that mothers are educated and they can make an informed decision. You cannot make an informed decision without information. So we need to give the mothers the best information available so that they can make a decision personally whether they want to breastfeed or not. If they choose to formula feed, we document on the medical record that this mother was given correct information and she's chosen to formula feed. After the mother has delivered and she goes to the birth center, the mother-baby unit, she's then giving, at the report off, they give her enough formula for that shift. And then for the next, when they give bedside report, they also bring formula in for that shift. And we don't just take in cases of formula and give it to the mother. We give her a small amount. And then when she's ready to leave, we do not give them formula at discharge, just like we don't feed the mom after she's discharged. But yet, if a mom says she doesn't have any money and she has to go to WIC and get her formula, they may give her like one bottle. But I always encourage the nurses to let them know that Walmart's open 24 hours a day, and if they choose to formula feed, they do have formula that they sell there, and they can also breastfeed until they can get into Walmart if they were out of money.
What kind of reactions have you gotten from patients on that approach? Because that is another concern that I think that some folks have, that they're going to make moms mad because they're not sending them home with formula, that that's a service that we should be providing, that we should be concerned about taking care of the baby. So have you had a lot of problems with moms being angry about not going home with formula?
We have not. When we first made our policy change that we had an in-service for every staff member, they had to go to this in-service on how to talk to the mothers, how to be kind and caring but yet firm. We also no longer give out car seats to everyone. We would have people come to our hospital. We are close. We have probably a 40% Medicaid rate here at our hospital. We're a little higher since we are non-for-profit, Catholic institution. You know, we treat everybody the same. But we used to have people who would come to the hospital and say, you know, I want one of them free car seats, and I want some formula for my baby. Just the other day we had someone who said she had no clothes for the baby, and we need to give her some blankets and clothes. And the nurse, who was very savvy, she's been a nurse here many, many years, she says, well, we could just wrap this baby up in your sweatshirt here, and showed her how. And before the baby was ready to go, she had her matching outfit, she had on shoes, she had on her a little hat. So the mother had clothes for the baby. It's just that they think that the hospital has free things for them, which we don't. And to decrease your formula costs, formula is the last part of becoming baby friendly. You get your breastfeeding rates up, then you go to buy your formula. And the more free formula you send out thinking you're being a good nurse, we had one nurse who, bless her heart, is lovely. She gives great care, but when somebody tells her they don't have any money, she would go out and get 6 cases of the 8-packs and give it to them, pack it all up and give it to them. Here's your formula. You know, that sends a different message to people. So she has changed her ways, and that's why we started to give moms formula for each feeding. You know, the baby, when I give report, I work a 12-hour shift. Your baby will eat probably 3 times, so I'm going to give you 3 bottles. We're going to give the baby 15 to 20 cc's at each feeding, and we're going to pour out the rest because we don't want your baby to be overfed and to be throwing up all afternoon. So that's one of the things that we did to help with that. Are you still there? I lost my screen. Hello?
Yep.
I am. Thank you, Janet, so much.
I'm sorry. Did you lose my screen? I've lost it.
Just
I must have not moved it.
We have it.
You still have it? Okay. I just don't have it.
So it's
so anyway,
2:30?
that we don't find the public that upset if you explain to them that, you know, although we'll feed you while you're here, we'll feed your baby, we'll help you, we'll give you everything you need, but we will not continue to feed your baby once your baby has left. But if you decide that you would like to breastfeed, we can show you how to do that if you don't indeed have any money.
Okay. Thank you so much, Billy. It's 2:30. Do you have any other questions there?
I don't have any other questions on my feed, so I think that's all.
Okay, well, thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Janet, and
joining
thanks
us.
everyone for attending.
All right.